How's it going on Thursday, August the 8th, 2024? This video, a recap of Stan Musial's brilliant career. I looked at every single box score he played from 1941 to 1963. How many games did he play? 3,026 regular season, and then in the playoffs he played another 23. So 3,026 plus 23, 3,049 games for Stan Musial. Incredible. Just think of that, 3,000 games. He was durable, was not injured a lot. He played 150 games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 seasons over 150 games. Then he had 1, 2, 3, 4 more seasons over 140. Then he had some 130s. Incredible. 10,972 official at-bats. He had 12,721 plate appearances. But I like to look at the official at-bats. 10,972. 1,949 runs scored. And he missed the 1945 season because he was in the military. He was 24 years old in that season. If he plays there, he's got over 2,000 runs. 3,630 hits. He plays 1945. He has over 3,800 hits. 725 doubles. Give another 40. He would have been about 760 doubles. 177 triples, probably about 190 of them he would have had. 475 homers. Definitely he would have been a 500 homer guy because he would have hit 25. He was 24 years old in 1945. He would have hit at least 25. He would have had 500 homers. He had 1,951 RBIs. That means he would have been over 2,000 RBIs. 1,600 walks. 696 strikeouts. Pretty good. Contact hitter. 331 career batting average. 417 on base. 559 slugging. 6,134 total bases. But I like to delve into even more specific numbers. Did you know that Stan Musial, got it right here, his best hitting streak was 30 games, 1950. 30-game hitting streak he had. Multi-hit games, 2 or more hits, 1,055. Now, I like to compare that with other guys. You get 1,055 multi-hit games. Which player had the most multi-hit games? Ty Cobb. He had 1,261. But Stan Musial had more than Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. Babe Ruth had 810. Lou Gehrig had 777. But Lou Gehrig only played 17 years. Ruth played the 22 years. How about Stan Musial's second place multi-hit games, 1,055. How about this? He never had a 4-homer game. Lou Gehrig had one. So Lou has the upper hand there. 3-homer games. Stan Musial had 2. Gehrig had 3. Ruth had 4. 2-homer games. Stan Musial had 35, but Lou Gehrig, 5 years less, had 41 of them. Of course, Babe Ruth, 2 homer games. He leads everybody. 72 of them. Cobb only 4. 2 homer games. 2 hit games. This is interesting. Who has the most 2 hit games? Ty Cobb, 838. But Luke Gehrig is number 2. Or no, Stan Musial is number 2. 739. So he was close to Ty Cobb. Gehrig had 555. Ruth had more than Gehrig. 602 hit games. 3 hit games. Who has the most? Ty Cobb, 327. But Gehrig, 200. No. Musial. Okay, I'm comparing Gehrig, Ruth, Cobb, and Musial. So if I get them mixed up, bear with me. Number 1 in 3 hit games, Ty Cobb, 327. Number 2 on the list, Stan Musial, 253 3 hit games. Gehrig had 201. Ruth, 196. 4 hit games. Who has the most? Ty Cobb, 82. Gehrig, number 2, 59. No, Musial, number 2, 59. Gehrig, number 3, 53. And Ruth had 23 4 hit games. 5 hit games. Who has the most? Ty Cobb had 13 of them. Musial, 7. Ruth, 6. Gehrig didn't have a 5 hit game. 6 hit games. Only Cobb had 1. He had 1 6 hit game. 2 runs scored games. Who has the most? Babe Ruth, 416. 2 runs scored in a game. Cobb second, 378. Gehrig third, 363. And Musial, 334. 3 runs scored in a game. Babe Ruth leads 104 of them. 404 games with 3 runs scored. Cobb second, 97. Gehrig third, 91. And Musial fourth, 75. 4 runs scored in a game. Gehrig is number 1, 15 times. 4 runs scored in a game. Cobb second, 13. Ruth third, 11. And Musial had 6 games, 4 runs scored. How about 5 runs scored in a game? Again, Gehrig, 3. 5 runs scored in a game. Cobb 2. Ruth and Musial 1. 2 runs batted in a game. Who leads? Ruth, 324 games with 2 or more 2 RBIs. No, 2 runs scored in a game. Ruth, 416 games. Second, Cobb, 378. Third, Ruth, Gehrig, 363. And then Musial was 4th, 334 games. 3 runs scored in a game. Ruth, 104. Cobb, 97. Gehrig, 91. And Musial, 75. 4 runs scored in a game. Gehrig, 15 of them. Cobb, 13. Ruth, 11. And Musial, 6. 5 runs scored in a game. How many games? Gehrig, 3. Cobb, 2. Ruth and Musial, 1. All right, 2 runs batted in a game. Who leads? Cobb, 324. Gehrig, 304 games. Ruth, Nope. Number 2. Musial, 319 games. Cobb, number 1, 324 games. Musial, 319. Garrick, 304. And Ruth, 287 games. All right, 3 runs batted in a game. How many games? Ruth, 185 of them. Musial second, 125. Garrick third, 118. And Cobb fourth, 98. 4 runs batted in a game. How many games? Ruth 70. Garrick 59. Musial 38 and Cobb 34. 5 runs batted in a game. How many games? Garrick 27. Ruth 17. Cobb 12. Musial 7. All right, how about this? 6 runs batted in a game. How many games? Ruth 7. Garrick 5. Cobb 2. And Musial 1. 7 runs batted in a game. Garrick 6 times. Ruth 4 times. And 1 time for Musial. Cobb never had 7 runs batted in a game. And of course, 8 runs batted in a game. The only guy to do that on the list, Garrick 3 times. Okay, got through that. How about this? 400 batting seasons. Only Cobb, he had 3 of them. The other guys didn't. How about 300 batting seasons? Cobb, 23 of them. Musial, 18. Ruth 17 and Garrick 12. How about 200 hit seasons? Cobb 9, Garrick 8, Musial 6, Ruth 3. 100 runs scored seasons. How many? Garrick 13, Ruth 12, Cobb and Musial 11. How about 100 RBI seasons? Garrick and Ruth 13, Musial 10, Cobb 7. How about 300 total bases in a season? How about Musial? 12 times. Ruth 9, Garrick 8, Cobb 4 times. And how about 400 bases in a season? Garrick 5, Ruth 2, Musial 1, and none for Cobb. What do you think of all those stats? How does Stan Musial rank along with Garrick, Ruth, and Cobb? I'm going to put him number 4. I got Ruth 1. Garrick 2. No, Cobb 2 on my rankings. Babe Ruth number 1. Cobb number 2. Garrick number 3. And I'm going to put Stan Musial number 4 in my rankings as far as the greatest players of all time. Now, you're going to say, what? You got a guy named Ted Williams. You've got Roger Hornsby. You got Jimmy Fox. You got Joe DiMaggio. You got Tris Speaker. You got some of these other guys that had good careers. I haven't looked at all their box scores. But I have looked at every single box score of Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Ty Cobb, and Stan Musial. And that's my ranking. Up to this point, August 8th, 2024. Subject to change. I just looked at Stan Musial's 22-year career. 3,630 hits, and I compared him with Ruth, Gehrig, and Cobb. He was kind of right there. Don't you agree? I mean, he had more 300 total base seasons than the other 3 guys. Stan Musial. He's number 2 in multi-hit games. He's number 2 in 2-hit games. I don't know about Pete Rose, whether Pete Rose has that many 2-hit games. I know Stan Musial had 739 and Cobb had 838. You think Rose, he has 4,256 hits. You think he has more 2-hit games than Stan Musial? I'm not sure. You'd have to look at every single box score of Pete Rose. Now he played 3,562 games. How am I going to look at all his box scores? Maybe one day I will. I'd have to analyze to see how many 2-hit games he has. But so far I've got Musial number 2 in 2-hit games. How about this? In 3-hit games, Musial is number 2. 253 of them. Behind Cobb. Let's see, where else? Musial is number 2 in runs batted in games, 319. Now I know Henry Aaron had over 2,200 RBIs, but how many 3 RBI games did he have? You'd have to look at every box score of Henry Aaron. What am I saying here? I've looked at Ruth, Garrett, Cobb, and Musial, every single box score, and that's what I've come up with. I just gave you all the numbers. I haven't done Henry Aaron or Pete Rose or Willie Mays, some of the other guys. But I would say Stan Musial is right up there as far as accomplishments. Don't you agree? I'm going to put him number 4 as the greatest baseball player of all time. Subject to change as of this moment. Okay? All right, I'm done with the recap on Stan Musial. What a player. It was fun looking at every single box score that he did. My next video, I'm going to start a new series. Tris Speaker, why? He had 3,500 hits in his career and a 345 lifetime batting average. You got to look at all his box scores. See where does he rank compared with Garrett, Cobb, Ruth, and Musial. Maybe Tris Speaker outperforms some of these guys in some of the categories that I mentioned. We're going to look at it, and I'll let you know the results. Thanks for looking. I'm out on this video, Stan Musial. Next video, Tris Speaker.